Hi everyone, I'm Daniel, and I really like playing ally assets. Allies are some of the best cards in the game, and I've always enjoyed putting 2 copies of Charisma in my deck to get as many in play as possible. But that's an aside, I've spent a lot of time thinking about the ally cards in this game, and obviously some of them are incredible. Dr. Milan, Beat Cop 2, and others just don't match up. Today, I'd like to talk about 5 allies at level 0 that I think are underrated. Cards that people frequently skip, but I think you should give another look to, if nothing more than to get some more variety in your decks. What do I mean by underrated? I've talked about this before, but personally, I think that most cards in this game are good. The trick is to find the right home for the card, and to balance your deck appropriately to take advantage of it. But I'm not a min-maxer, so I do value some strategies and parts of the game more than some other players do. Why just looking at level 0 cards? Well, level 0 cards are special. Obviously, they're in your deck from the beginning of the campaign, but that means a lot actually. If a level 0 card does its job well enough, you don't need to spend XP to upgrade it or replace it until later in the campaign. That's XP that you can spend elsewhere to make a bigger difference to your deck's consistency and output. Next, level 0 cards are widely accessible. They can find a home throughout a campaign in an investigator who only gets the card through their off class. Some of these homes can be quite surprising. Remember that the Dunwich investigators get 5 level 0 cards from any class. And of course, anyone can take the card as long as they pick up versatile. So here are 5 underrated level ally assets, one for each class. First up is Alice Luxley. She has some nice soak, a static intellect boost, and an unlimited damage dealing ability after you discover a clue. She's been getting a lot more love lately, especially with the Scarlet Keys campaign, since dealing damage to an enemy can be a testless expose of a concealed card. But she's really been excellent all along. I think when you look her over, the ability reads really awkward. I need a clue at my location, and an enemy at my location, and I have to somehow avoid the attack of opportunity to get the clue before I deal with the enemy. But in practice, I think this is a lot less awkward, especially in 3 to 4 player games. There will be clues around, and dealing 1 damage to an enemy that's engaged with someone else is not uncommon, and it really does help out the team. Think about all those odd health enemies that can be much more easily dispatched. The other criticism is it's a Guardian card with an intellect boost. Players are primed to think of Guardian as monster fighter, but that's really not the case anymore. All Guardians can get clues. Sure, you can easily fit Alice Luxley into Carolyn Fern or Joe Diamond, but Leo Anderson, Tommy Muldoon, and Carson Sinclair are also good fits. I recently saw Alice in an Ashcan Pete deck. Her boost helps out Duke while investigating, and you can move into a location with an enemy using Duke's ability, and you won't get the attack of opportunity either. Let's talk about Seekers. They have a ton of fantastic allies, and a lot of them are at level 0. Witten Green level 0 has 2 problems. 1, she isn't Dr. Milan, and 2, she isn't her level 2 version. But really, in the right deck, she's just as good as your other options. So Witten has this conditional stat boost. You have to have a tome or a relic in play. This is sort of annoying, but not really a problem. You're not going to play Witten unless you have a lot of tomes and or relics. And speaking of, she has the ability to draw you a tome or relic every time you reveal or put into play a new location. Obviously, this is better in solo, but in multiplayer, just tell your fellow players that you really need to explore before they do. If you're drawing at least 3 or 4 cards off of Witten per scenario, then this is pretty much as good as Jeremiah Kirby. Witten also helps you trigger any research abilities like Astounding Revelation or Surprising Find, so she's a natural fit for those decks, like for Mandy Thompson. There's one thing Witten has over Milan and Kirby, the 2-2 soak. It's not nothing. Try playing the Circle Undone with Milan, and you'll find that he just really dies sometimes. Finally, the fact that she has an upgrade is pretty good too. Daisy can use Down the Rabbit Hole to upgrade her for cheap. Next up is the rogue ally, Dario El Amin. This time we have 2 stat boosts, something totally unheard of at level 0, but the +1 to willpower and intellect comes at a big cost. 4 resources to play him, and another 10 to sit on before you can get anything out of him. I think when he was released with the Path to Carcosa, this wasn't very good, but Dario's looking a lot better these days. In particular, there's incredible support for his archetype. Hoarding money gets you more than just the 2 stat boosts. With the Black Fan, you'll get some extra health and sanity, and eventually an extra action, and even more stat boosts. Well Connected is also a great payoff for the archetype, letting you pass pretty much any test. These cards are, of course, way better than Dario himself, but at least he helps you get the money too. 2 resources for an action isn't terrible, but 3 is even better. Take a look at Stylish Coat from the Scarlet Keys. Dario's other problem is that Rogue has really good allies, especially at level 3, with probably more relevant stat boosts. But again, that's the nice thing about level 0 cards. You're not investing anything into them, so when the time comes and you have enough XP, feel free to dump Dario for Delilah. Moving on to the Mystic class, I'm choosing Alyssa Graham. Everyone knows that Alyssa works extremely well for Gloria's ability, and for encounter or player deck manipulation in general, but I think she's pretty good outside those archetypes too. Let's just start with the +1 intellect boost. There are 9 mystics that have a base intellect of 3 or higher. Even though we're all used to the idea that mystics do everything with their willpower, it doesn't have to be that way, and it certainly wasn't a sure thing back before there were clue spells everywhere. And saving charges on spells to just pick up a clue or two from low shroud locations is still an excellent idea today. Alyssa can help you investigate at 4 or maybe 5 with another card in play like St. Hubert's Key or Arcane Studies level 4. She also has 3 sanity, so this is a great choice for soaking horror from shriveling or water protection. In fact, as a flex, you might be able to forgo investigation spells at all and just fill your arcane slots with fighting spells. Okay, so her ability. Look at the top card of the encounter deck. You would rather not have to place Doom on her all the time to discard the card, so how good is just knowing what's coming, good or bad? Actually quite good, especially in solo. If you're not sure if you should play a weapon or fighting spell quite yet, just see what's coming next round. If it isn't an enemy, you can hold off. And try playing her in Marie. The ability to put Doom on a card at will turns her extra action on for spells immediately. Our last card is Granny Orn, level 0. I just noticed that all 5 of the allies cost 4 resources and boost either intellect or willpower, or both, like Dario. I don't think this is a coincidence. 4 is not cheap, but you do get what you pay for. Anyways, Granny level 0 is a strange bird. Like Wit and Green, it's easy to overlook Granny level 0 because the level 3 version is so good. But the level 0 version actually has a different function to mitigate failure. You see, Granny 0 will never help you pass a test, but she will let you get within range of fail-by cards like Look What I Found, or take less horror from something like a Rotting Remains, even when you draw the auto-fail. Granny level 3 actually does nothing if you draw the auto-fail. Now, that is pretty niche, but it's worth respecting the power inherent in the level 0 version. The willpower boost is quite good too. You might consider her an Agnes Baker, where the Horror Soak also comes in handy. And I once put her in a Bob Jenkins deck that was almost certainly going to fail every willpower test at the beginning of a campaign of the Path to Carcosa. And that's it. Thank you for watching. What are some underrated level 0 allies that you think I should add to the list? I know there's a lot of allies out there, a lot of really cheap ones that I overlooked, so let me know down in the comments. And of course, check out some of my other Arkham Horror content here on the channel.